Welcome to the training module on the City of Dunwoody's travel policy. These provisions establish the policy governing authorized travel for employees, consultants, and other authorized persons who travel at the expense of the City of Dunwoody. Departments shall not incur travel expenditures unless an appropriation is available or budget amendment has been completed. This policy will provide control functions, assure proper record keeping, and ensure fiscal responsibility whenever training is required. There are several travel terms we will use throughout this training module. We will define a few of the terms now. However, definitions for all of the terms listed can be found in the travel policy document located on the City Share Drive. Authorized travelers. There are two categories of authorized travelers: city employees and all other persons, including consultants other than council members and city employees authorized in writing in advance by the city manager or designee to travel at the expense of the city. Common carrier: train, bus, commercial airline operating scheduled flights or rental cars of an established rental car firm. Most advantageous method of travel. The mode of transportation and schedule of transportation, taking into consideration the following: the purpose and nature of the travel, the most efficient and economical means of travel, considering the time length of the trip, number of connections, time of day, cost of transportation, and per diem or subsistence required, early booking of airline reservations to take advantage of discounted fares, and, lastly, the number of persons making the trip and the amount of equipment or material to be transported. Per diem. Amounts paid for travel expenses on a daily basis based on per diem tables published by the General Services Administration, or GSA, or otherwise contained herein. Travel services. The city employee or employees assigned the duties and responsibilities to coordinate, perform research, and make reservations for city travel. Unless otherwise designated by the city manager, travel services will consist of the finance director and two people assigned by the chief of police. Travelers should recognize they are using public funds and are expected to exercise the same care in incurring travel expenses that any prudent person exercises when traveling on business. It is the responsibility of the traveler to comply with the travel policy of the City of Dunwoody and to be knowledgeable of the nature and extent of reimbursable expenses. It is the general policy of the city to reimburse reasonable travel and entertainment expenses incurred during authorized travel, subject to any limitations provided for in the City of Dunwoody's travel policy. If an authorized traveler or business client on a trip deviates from the travel policy for justifiable reasons, the circumstances of the deviation and the reasons therefor are to be documented and reviewed for approval by the city manager. Non-compliance with this policy will be addressed in accordance with the city's ethical or conduct policies, and reimbursement may be denied. All requests for travel, domestic and international, must be submitted on the Travel Authorization and Expense Report, sometimes referred to in this presentation as the report. It should contain the dates of travel, a total budget amount, and all other pertinent information required by travel services to process the requested travel arrangements. The approving authority must ensure that funding is available in the appropriate line item budget. The report must include a statement of purpose for the travel and indicate the benefits to the city. A copy of any printed program or agenda shall also be submitted. If none is available, a statement to that effect must be submitted. The report must be signed by the traveler, and approvals obtained in advance of the proposed travel, as follows. If the type of travel is budgeted daily travel, the appropriate approval authority would be the department head or designee. Unbudgeted daily travel would need to be approved by the city manager or designee. Budgeted domestic travel can be approved by the department head or designee. Unbudgeted domestic travel should be approved by the city manager or designee. International travel must also be approved by the city manager or designee. Travel for a consultant per contract should be approved by the finance director or designee. Consultant travel that is not contracted must be approved by the city manager or designee. The city manager and city department heads may plan their own travel arrangements if they so choose. It is the responsibility of the department head or designee to review all travel requests and ensure their compliance with policy and procedures. The department head or designee will coordinate all travel that requires only mileage reimbursement up to 100 miles. Travel Services is responsible for arranging travel plans, including daily travel that has conference or seminar registration, rental car, or airfare. All airfare and other travel reservations are made by Travel Services or its authorized representative, such as a local or nationally recognized travel agency, unless otherwise approved by the city manager or designee. Travel Services may provide options for lodging, airfare, and other expenses if deemed cost-effective. In accordance with the City Employee Handbook, use of the Internet to arrange for city travel is acceptable. Airline reservations can be made by Travel Services or its authorized representative using the Internet, by either accessing the travel agent's website or other travel websites. Authorized travelers may use the Internet to research fares and other travel expenses for trip planning purposes. In determining which travel expenses to incur, the city shall integrate environmental factors into the city's procurement decisions when practicable. In determining which travel expenses to purchase, the city shall procure travel expenses which contain, whenever practicable, the highest percentage of post-consumer recovered material, the highest percentage of total recovered material available in the marketplace, and reduce waste in the manufacture and use of products and packaging purchased by the city. At a minimum, the city shall consider using lower emission vehicles with comparable specifications for performance, safety, and fuel availability and evaluate, as appropriate, the environmental performance of vendors in incurring travel expenses. There are special conditions of travel which may cause exception to the normal Dunwoody travel policies. These special conditions include authorized travelers other than council members or employees. The finance director or designee may approve budgeted travel by persons who are serving as consultants or advisors when such travel is on behalf of the city, excluding those consultants and advisors whose contract specifies the terms of travel. Travel expenses for authorized persons shall adhere to the same rates and guidelines as those for employees and other travelers. Travel and/or entertainment of business clients or guests. Actual and reasonable travel and entertainment expenses incurred by council members or employees on behalf of a business client or authorized guest shall be paid directly to third-party vendors when practical. The finance director or designee may authorize consultants to incur similar budgeted expenses. When not practical, reimbursement will be to the person incurring the expense, including business client or guest, provided receipts authorizing disbursement of city funds are obtained. Receipts must be machine-validated cash register or credit card receipts. Meal receipts must be itemized with each meal item listed. Stubs from guest checks are not acceptable. Reimbursement for alcoholic beverages is not allowed. Joint travel missions. On occasion, the city may enter into a joint travel mission that may be for business, economic, or tourist development reasons with other organizations, including, but not limited to, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Chamber of Commerce, or PCID. When these joint ventures are undertaken, the city will pay travel costs based upon the invoice submitted by the host agency, which is intended to distribute costs equitably, unless previously arranged, among all agencies involved. Travel services will perform procedures to determine that the amounts charged to the city are financially comparable to amounts which would be charged if the city were arranging the trip. Any meals, lodging, or incidental expenses not included in the invoice will be reimbursed in accordance with the standard guidelines found elsewhere within the City of Dunwoody's travel policy. All such travel shall be authorized in advance by the city manager or designee. Travel for employment interviews. Travel and transportation expenses of the city's employment applicants may be reimbursed in accordance with this policy at the city manager's discretion. To the extent possible, all travel arrangements and lodging will be made by travel services or by human resources upon approval by the finance director. Additional special conditions of travel include honorarium travel. Travel in connection with honorarium events may have related costs waived or paid by a sponsoring organization, if written acknowledgement is provided. Complimentary upgrades. Authorized travelers will not accept a complimentary upgrade of seating on any flight. If an authorized traveler is deemed to have accepted a complimentary upgrade, the authorized traveler will pay to the airline the lowest calculated difference between the class of travel purchased and the upgraded class. The following are not considered complimentary upgrades: use of frequent flyer miles or other upgrade benefits to obtain a higher class of airfare, use of system upgrades, compensation paid to a passenger who qualifies as a denied boarding customer, or DBC, standby seats assigned by the airline regardless of seat assignment, and airline requests the authorized traveler to change seat or class due to the flight being oversold. Most advantageous method. Authorized travelers are required to use the most advantageous method of travel available to the city. If an authorized traveler departs early or returns late to take advantage of reduced airfares, lodging and meals will be reimbursed in accordance with this policy, provided that a net savings to the city is realized and such savings are documented in advance with the travel authorization and expense report. Physically disabled, sick, or injured travelers. Any traveler who is on authorized travel and becomes sick or injured to the extent they can no longer perform the city's business may be eligible to continue receiving meal allowances and other reasonable expenses during incapacitation. This eligibility may extend until such time as the authorized traveler is able to continue to perform the city's business or return to official headquarters, whichever is earlier. In order to qualify, the traveler must notify the department head, city manager, or designee as soon as possible, but not later than 72 hours after incurring the illness or injury, and receive authorization for continued reimbursement. The city may reimburse or pay travel expenses incurred by the physically disabled traveler, which are in excess of the travel expenses ordinarily authorized, provided such excess travel expenses are reasonable and necessary under the circumstances for the safe travel of the physically disabled individual. Any and all reasonable and necessary expenses being claimed by the traveler must be accompanied by sufficient documentation to justify the expenses. Emergency travel. The city manager or designee may authorize travel for any employee, council member, or other traveler pursuant to emergency notice. The requirements of this policy may be waived at the discretion of the city manager or designee whenever travel is pursuant to emergency notice.